minutes or no, not anymore?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to do 4 poems, and those poems I'm actually going to do in a specific order. I'm not going to explain them too much so I don't take up my poetry reading time, but they have a lot to do with the overlap of identity, the overlap of otherness, the overlap of war, and then what's going on today. I'll speak from my own personal perspective, but I know that a lot of people who are from minoritized communities and silenced communities have feelings that are very similar. This is the first one. Obvious. There are things that are plainly obvious with no lingering doubt about them. Sometimes it takes years to understand them. If you're like me, maybe decades. Sometimes it takes seconds, but once you know, you know. You know? But really, I don't. For me, Reem was Reem, and that was it. I did not realize that I was Arab until this year. Yes, this year, January 1st, 2008. It took me over 21 years to determine that fact. When people ask me, Reem, where are you from? And Boston was not the right answer. Reem, what do you think about what's going on in the Middle East? And it had nothing to do with the fact that I'm a political scientist. Reem, when do you think you'll be going back home? And well, that caused a head tilt, a look of utter, huh? Maybe I never internalized it. Maybe no one really pointed it out to me. Maybe, like Du Bois, it wasn't until I left Massachusetts and met others of my kind that I realized that I was an other, lumped into a group, culturally, constantly striving, culturally schizophrenic, stigmatized by the media, a love-hate relationship, a sense of double consciousness, a group identity that overlaps me, encompasses me, becomes me. I just don't know. There are things that are plainly obvious with no lingering doubt about them. Sometimes it takes years to understand them, and if you're like me, maybe decades. Sometimes it takes seconds, but once you know, you know, you know? But really, I don't, and it makes me curious, slightly skeptical, somewhat uncertain, a tad bit bewildered, fairly concerned, quite suspiciously surprised to why someone has the audacity to tell me who I am, and then succeeds at making me question it. Therefore, لست مثل الآخرين. I dream and I dream and I dream. لست مثل الآخرين because I know what it means to be me. لست مثل الآخرين because when you tell me who I am, I respond in poetry. لست مثل الآخرين. I am the other, and I don't care, nor do I question it. I embrace it, love it, feel it, put it in a box, gift wrap it, and stuff it into my pocket. لست مثل الآخرين. أنا منهم, which means I'm not like the others. I am of them. The second poem, Syria. Her name is Freedom. This was around 2013, 2014 at the height of the Syrian civil war. Jasmine petals litter the sidewalks, and others just stomp on her delicate form, not noticing that her presence is eternal. Her smell is elegance and beyond control, but her beauty is war-torn. We see her every day, hurting, struggling, wishing, hoping that we'll be there for her, but we're not. In fact, we're distracted by lights, camera, action, all of the above, and it scares her that she can't get our attention. Jasmine petals litter the sidewalks, the protests, the calls, the prayers, the demands. She is swept under the rug, just as she was in February 1982, 40,000 killed, yet no one even knew. An anomaly, a statistical error, bound to more anomalies, more errors, perpetually silenced with the heavy weight of repression. 40 years ago, last year, this morning, every attempt to rise up is neatly packed away, boxed, taped, and shipped off to an unknown place in the back of our minds and forgotten. But somehow, she has a complex, one that defies order. She will not be packed away and left to the recesses of our memory. Just as jasmine petals coat the sidewalks, overgrow their fences, greet the passerby, float in the wind and permeate the air, her resolve will be heard by all. Sight, touch, smell, body, mind, soul. She will remain vocal and stir up storms. She will make her thoughts known. She will demand her freedom, despite being worn out. Despite being forgotten, despite our distractions, she will bleed, drink, eat, sleep, live, die, strive, speak. She will stand, walk, move, scream, cry, pray, hope, dream. She will be free. Sorry. Thanks. This one is called In God. A'udhu billah, a'udhu billah, a'udhu billah. I seek refuge in God. It is something Muslims tend to say when they're stressed out about anything. It's usually followed with a from, and you fill in the blank. I seek refuge in God from the evils of Satan. That's the most common. Or I seek refuge in God from the evils of mankind. Or I seek refuge in God because there is no sanctuary except with God. And these are the mantras that we repeat to ourselves when we are frustrated, annoyed, scared, or even happy, but worried we may become ungrateful. So we seek refuge in God from ingratitude. Get it? But this poem is about questions and answers. Questions I have been asked and answers I have yet to give. If I could tell you how many times I've been asked where are you from throughout my life, then I'd have $0 because no one would give me a dime for each time, let alone a penny. As a person, I struggled in my early 20s so deeply with my Arab and American identity that I wrote a poem about it. You've probably heard me perform it here and there. I sound angry, unapologetic, and ready to burst. I got so frustrated with the question in my teenage years that I'd answer, I'm American, born and raised with my thickest Bostonian accent. I never identified as being Syrian. No, never Syrian. I hit my 20s and met Arabs here in Detroit and realized, holy Swedish fish, I can be both Arab and American. Lo and behold, I wrote a poem about it, but still never Syrian. No, never Syrian. I don't know why. Maybe my parents never forced me to adopt their cultural identity. They never force-fed their cultural values down my throat. I knew it. I knew I was Suriya from the way I ate zait and za'atar with cucumbers and tomatoes for breakfast every morning. I knew that I was Suriya from the way everyone else called Syrian bread, but we just called it bread. I knew that I was Suriya from the mixes of spices that filled our pantry and then overload of cumin and everything. But for some reason, I never said it. People asked me, where are you from? And I was just American. Over the last 2 years, I've been comfortable with asking back, are you asking me where my parents are from, or my heritage, or my ethnic makeup, or all of the above? Usually, people are offensively, although unintentionally, curious. I am Syrian. There, I said it. It took a civil war, over 470,000 people killed in the destruction of my childhood memories for me to finally say it. I don't understand why it took me so long to feel it. Maybe it was the fact that I could see my history crumbling in front of me like the crumbling of the citadel of Aleppo, a history I never felt connected to, but suddenly it pulled me with an invisible thread. Maybe it was the fact that the graves of my ancestors, the homes of my ancestors, and the history of the whole Middle East is centered there. Maybe it was something stupid like social media. I was finally talking to my cousins on Facebook. Maybe it was the war. But that question wasn't enough, nor did they realize how much I had already overcome to answer it. Are you a refugee? I hated the question. I hated the person's curiosity, and I hated my damned guilt. The guilt of not having pride for 29 years of my cultural history, the guilt of wanting to answer the question with an emphatic no, but doing so only perpetuates the myth that refugees are a bad, unwanted group of people. The guilt of wanting to answer the question with a prideful yes, even though it isn't true, just to put the person in their place for not minding their own damn business. The guilt of not knowing what to do when asked such a question. The guilt of not knowing how to be Syrian because I'm second generation American. The guilt that my child will never know about her ancestors because no one in the world really gives a flying flip-flop about what they can do to stop the war. The guilt that I still haven't answered the question. It is hanging in the air, thick, musty, full of ignorant curiosity. Are you a refugee? People have been asking me if my family has been hurt, if they're okay. I hate that question more than all others. No one is unscathed from a civil war. Every Syrian either has someone killed, missing, detained, displaced, seeking asylum, or an emigre. So my answer to that question is always the same. My situation is the same as all others. My family is the same as all others. And to the question earlier, are you a refugee? Yes, I am Syrian. But are you a refugee? I seek refuge in God because there is no sanctuary except with God. That was like in 2016. So this is my last one. It's kind of dealing with the emotional, physical feeling of what's going on in Gaza and in Palestine as a whole. It's not named. I don't have a name for it. The pinching in my chest, the fog in my brain, the aches in distress, and the inability to process the pain, the soreness in twinges, the drooping of my lips, the twitches and flinches that refuse to wane, the impotence of rest, the denial to resist, the temptation of hope, the continual thwart. We will not stop. We will not rest. We will oppose. We will contest. Tightened chest swells with pride, decolonization, resistance, anti-occupation, anti-genocide. We will not stop. We will not rest. We will oppose. We will contest. Shaky hands, stilled in grasps, quivering legs, step in line, shoulders carry more than slogans, shoulders carry more than signs, throat is sore, voice is quaking. We will not stop our protest until the earth is shaking. Free the lands from greasy palms of colonial racist capitalists who are dropping bombs. We will not stop. We will not rest. We will oppose. We will contest. Crack the walls. Break the chains. Open the doors. Cathartic pains. Attempts to encase. Attempts to displace. Attempts to trace. Attempts to erase, but never will. Our will be phased. We will not stop. We will not rest. We will oppose. We will contest until the only words that fill the void are whispered calls for hurriya, 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 hurriya. Thank you.